The top stories tonight in Y News. Manila Mayor Isko Moreno is pitching the creation of an agency for national culture and history, while Vice President Leni Robredo wants to open voting centers for BPO employees.
Health Secretary Francisco Duque III denied claims that the government passed off the chance to obtain 50 million syringes from the United States. The government, meanwhile, assures enough syringes for the second national vaccination days.
For 12 straight years, Pinay beauty queens landed a spot in the Miss Universe semifinals after Philippines' Bet Beatriz Luigi Gomez reaches the top 5 at the 70th Miss Universe pageant.
An earthquake with magnitude of 5.3 hit parts of Batangas and other nearby areas.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. We are now reporting live from Quezon City, and today is Monday, December 13, 2021. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am William Theo.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Manila Mayor Isko Moreno proposes the creation of the Department of National Culture and History. Meanwhile, Vice President Leni Robredo eyes opening of voting centers for call center employees. Nel Maribohok will tell us why.
Presidential aspirant and Manila Mayor Isko Moreno appealed to the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas to reconsider the recently released new design of 1,000 denominated banknote. Moreno voiced his reservations about this new design, saying he prefers to retain the images of Filipino heroes Vicente Lim, Jose Fallanes Coda, and Jose Abad Santos.
While it is true that eagle should be there also, but siguro pwede naman halfway yun. Pwede naman sa kabila, nandun pa rin yung ating mga heroes, tapos yung ating national treasure, mga mahalagang bagay o unique sa bansa natin, nandun pa rin katulad ng agila. I have some reservation on what they did.
He then proposed the creation of a new department, the National History and Culture, which will be mandated to educate the next generations about the Philippine culture and the personalities who have bravely fought for the country. Vice President Leni Robredo said that her camp will be filing a petition before the Commission on Elections seeking additional voting precincts near business process outsourcing or BPO offices in Cebu and other areas to allow workers to vote on election day. During a meeting with the Business Process Outsourcing or BPO sector, Robredo raised concerns about the fact that the work schedule of most BPO workers is in conflict with the voting hours for the 2022 elections. Robredo said that they might expand the scope of the petition as the problem extends past Cebu. It might be a common problem for BPO offices nationwide. Senator Manny Pacquiao defended this distribution of cash and relief during his provincial visits. Pacquiao said he had been giving out cash since 2002.
Yung pamimigay ko, 2002. 2002 ko pa rin ginagawa na. Nakahintay lang ngayon yan kasi naging politiko ako ng 2010. Ay, sabi ko sa kanila, may mga mahiyaman din. Bilyon-bilyon. Ang pera.
He already said that he would continue giving away cash to supporters, telling critics that the money is from his pocket, not public coffers. Other presidential aspirants like Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos, Senators Panfilo Lacson, and Christopher Bongo have no political rally today. Nel Maribohok, UNTV News and Rescue, we serve the people, we give glory to God.
4 months before the May 2022 elections, the Philippine National Police has started validating possible poll hotspots. The PNP says more than 500 areas were initially included in the list of hotspot areas. Leah Ilagan reports why.
The Philippine National Police considers around 488 towns and 58 cities as possible election hotspots. PNP Director for Intelligence Police Brigadier General Michael John Dubria said, out of the total 546 areas, only 46 were under the red category in which they are focusing on.
The good thing about this is that under the red category, we have only 3% out of the total 1,438 number of towns in the country. And we also have 5% of 146 cities in the country. So yun lang yung figure natin, translated into just 39 towns and 7 cities. Yun lang po yung pinaka-critical natin na binabantayan.
Most of the areas under Category Red were in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in mostly Mindanao or BARM. The Commission on Elections categorized hotspot areas into 4. Category Green refers to areas that do not have security concerns and are generally peaceful and orderly, while Category Yellow are areas of concern, which means that these have a history of election-related incidents in the last 2 elections and intense political rivalry, and this had been previously declared under COMELEC control. Category Orange, meanwhile, means areas of immediate concern where there is serious armed threat posed by lawless elements, while Category Red means areas of grave concern which exhibit combined factors under the yellow and orange categories that may constitute grounds for the declaration of COMELEC control. PNP Chief Police General Junardo Carlos assures enough number of personnel to secure the areas considered as election hotspot.
Maximize tayo ng personnel. That's why the early preparation is identifying yung mga deployment ng ating police. If they don't need to be in that particular deployment, we will recall them and put them, we prioritize on the deployment for the coming elections.
Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, clarifies it is unlikely to suspend the 2022 elections in the entire country. Dante Amento tells us why.
A petition seeking to suspend the 2022 elections was filed before the COMELEC last Friday by National Coalition for Life and Democracy, or NCLD. The petitioners assert the current COVID-19 pandemic for the necessity of suspension and hold the elections in 2023 instead. COMELEC spokesperson Director James Jimenez says the law requires the conduct of election every 3 years. The suspension thereof on nationwide scope would also need the amendment of the Constitution.
When you call for a suspension of the elections like this, of this magnitude, essentially because they want to do it for the entire nation and they want to do it for, at the very least, a year, you're basically saying ignore the Constitution, right? You're saying ignore the Constitution, let's not hold the elections the way the Constitution says we should, every 3 years.
Jimenez added if the elections will be suspended, it would mean 1-year vacancy of several positions for elected officials.
Number 2, there is no holdover provision, right? There is no holdover provision, which means that if you do suspend the elections after, for 2022 and hold it in 2023, then that means you have an entire year when you have no elected officials, right? So what are you gonna do? Are they gonna nominate people to hold these positions in an appointive capacity? By whose authority? And for what purpose?
Jimenez clarified that even though the poll body has the authority to suspend the elections, it can only suspend when the essence of fair and free elections will not exist, such as in times of force majeure or if the ballots are burned, affected by flood, or if all the teachers contracted the disease in connection with the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, the COMELEC 2nd Division denies the petition for intervention on a cancellation case against presidential aspirant Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. The COMELEC said if the petition will be granted, it would result to further delay for the resolution of the main petition. Thus, the COMELEC also denied another 2 answers in intervention in connection with the case. Currently, there are 7 petitions filed before the poll body against the former senator. These include 2 petitions to cancel COC, 4 petitions for disqualification, and 1 petition seeking to declare Marcos as nuisance candidate. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Philippine Ports Authority prohibits passengers without confirmed bookings in port terminals across the country. Asher Cadapan Jr. details why.
The Philippine Ports Authority strictly observes the 70% passenger capacity in all sea transport system. With this, the agency only allows entry of passengers with confirmed bookings to control the crowd within the terminal ports. PPA General Manager Jay Santiago emphasizes this amid the increasing number of sea passengers as the holiday season approaches. He explains that this will help lower the risk of COVID-19 transmission, especially with the threat of the Omicron variant.
Bago sila pumunta sa mga pantalan, siguraduhin nilang meron silang confirmed booking at huwag silang pupunta sa pantalan na chance passenger lang sila dahil nga very strict ang pagmamonitor natin sa passenger capacity sa mga sasakyang pandagat natin.
Prior to booking their sea vessel tickets, the PPA advises passengers to find out the travel requirements of the local government unit of their destination. Several LGUs require passengers to present their vaccination card or certificate of a negative result of COVID-19 test taken within 72 hours prior to their travel date. They may find the necessary information they need as well as conveniently acquire their travel documents from the LGU from the SPAS website.
Hindi naman abot ng isang araw, mabilis lang naman. Tsaka pinicturan lang tapos sinesend sa messenger, pinaricopy.
Ang protocol po ng Dumaguete, vaccine card tapos box certificate. Mabilis lang po kasi puro cellphone na.
Once all requirements and bookings are confirmed, the PPA advises the passengers to be at the port terminals 4 hours before their travel schedule. Asher Cadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And in other news, a 5.3 magnitude earthquake rocked Batangas this afternoon, according to the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHIVOLCS. Based on the agency's report, the epicenter of the quake was located 24 kilometers southwest of Calatagan, Batangas at 5:12 p.m. today. Intensity 3 was felt in Quezon City. Intensity 2 was recorded in San Felipe, Zambales. No damage has been reported yet, but PHIVOLCS warns of expected aftershocks.
The Food and Drug Administration confirms that Pfizer-BioNTech has submitted an emergency use authorization for their COVID-19 vaccines for children 5 to 11 years old. FDA Director General Eric Domingo says their clinical trial results show a high efficacy rate for kids. Aiko Miguel will give us the details live. Yes, Aiko, go ahead.
Yes, Diego, good evening. FDA Director General Eric Domingo said Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccines for kids showed a good clinical trial data.
A little more than 90%, 90.7%, yung kanyang vaccine efficacy sa children 5 to 11. Yung mRNA, yung active ingredient yung sa cracky, pareho yon, no? It's identical. Kaya lang, dahil syempre pag bata, mas maliit yung amounts na kailangan, yung preparation nag-iiba din, pati yung concentration ng preparation. It's a different formulation, iba po yung concentration per ml na gagawin dun sa mga pambata, at iba rin po yung amount na i-inject sa mga batang maliliit.
Diego, the vaccine experts panel have been thoroughly reviewing their submitted data to provide proper recommendations for Filipino children.
So ginagamit po siya as 2 doses. Ang initial schedule po ay 3 weeks apart, no? Of course, titingnan po ito ng ating vaccine experts at sila po yung magsasabi sa atin kung ano yung magiging schedule. For all intents and purposes, I think it would be a 2-dose schedule.
Western countries like US and Canada and several countries in Europe have begun the inoculation of COVID-19 vaccines for children aged 5 to 11. Last December 8, U.S. manufacturer Pfizer-BioNTech submitted to the Food and Drug Administration their application to amend their existing emergency use authorization in the Philippines. Once approved, their COVID-19 vaccines will be used for the inoculation of children 5 to 11 years old. Before 2021 ends, Diego, the FDA will possibly release their decision as the government is also planning to start the inoculation of COVID-19 vaccines for 5 to 11 years old next year.
Yung safety. Before the efficacy, yun po munang safety ang tinitingnan ng ating po mga eksperto dyan bago natin payagan. So far, yung clinical trial data, wala naman pong nakikita na very unusual or tinatawag nating signals of very severe na mga adverse events. Kundi karamihan na nakita rin sa mga trials ay mga mild, no? Katulad din po ng naramdaman sa ibang mga bakuna na ibinibigay sa mga bata.
Diego, FDA Director General Eric Domingo also said that currently administration of booster doses is recommended to be given after 6 months. Janssen and Sputnik Light's booster doses are given after 3 months as they are single-dose COVID-19 vaccines.
Nakikita po natin na nag-uumpisa lamang naman na mag-wane yung protection at the 6th month, kaya dito po binibigay ang booster shot.
On the other hand, Vaccine Czar and IATF Chief Implementer Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. said they have been considering to administer booster doses after 3 months for Sinovac, Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca.
Pinag-usapan nga namin na pwedeng i-elevate na natin sa FDA na magkaroon ng amendment na between 4 to 6. Yun ang nakita namin na parang para at least ma-expand na natin at saka mapabilis natin yung protection. Because we also received some advice from some experts worldwide na mas maganda na yung tinatawag natin hanggang hindi bumababa yung nag-wane yung protection. Kailangan bigyan na natin so that it can drastically improve yung protection. Yung tinatawag nga namin, ayan yung sasabi namin, we should not break the chain of protection sa vaccine. Para at least tuloy-tuloy yung reinforced, tinatawag namin reinforced protection ng ating mga
Meanwhile, Diego, shelf life of COVID-19 vaccines can be amended too through an EUA according to FDA. In the country, Pfizer's shelf life has already extended to 9 months, while Sinovac's shelf life is up to 12 months. And that is the latest live. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you, Aiko Miguel, reporting live from Quezon City.
Health Secretary Francisco Duque III denied claims that the government missed the opportunity to obtain 50 million syringes from the United States. Foreign Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. meanwhile rebuked the health chief. Rosalie Cos explains why.
Health Secretary Francisco Duque III questioned Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin's comment that the government dropped the ball again in the procurement of syringes. He said the allegation of the Foreign Affairs chief is baseless.
The tweet that ball was dropped again by the Philippines is absolutely false and without basis. Okay? Because what is this gentleman talking about? Okay? Number one, he's saying that the syringes, okay? Although his tweets are devoid of details, walang karga.
He added this is a procurement issue. In his Twitter post over the weekend, Secretary Locsin said the government dropped the ball again on offer for 50 million syringes for COVID-19 vaccines. In another tweet, he criticized the DOH budget for the syringes, saying 4.7 cents a syringe is hallucinatory. According to Health Secretary Duque, he does not know what Locsin is referring to. But he said there is a firm who initially wanted to participate in the bidding of 50 million pieces of 0.5 ml auto-disabled syringes but backed out after confirming that the approved budget for the contract is pegged at 119.5 million pesos or 2 pesos per syringe, around 0.048 cents of US dollar. The company asked if they can bid higher than the stated budget because they cannot accommodate the quantity with that pricing. However, Duque said it would be illegal to adjust the price set by the Bids and Awards Committee just because a bidder can't work with that price.
So what are they talking about? Why will I allow the DOH to agree to a higher approved budget contract? That is in violation. of RA 9184 and a potential case of anti-graft can be filed if we will allow ourselves to be influenced by suppliers. And we cannot do that. It is not in our ethos. It's not in the DOH manner of procuring. Okay, we abide by the provisions of RA 9184.
Meanwhile, the DOH as well as the National Task Force Against COVID-19 assured that the government is doing everything it can to ensure there is enough supply of syringes in the country. According to the two government bodies, the country has 2 batches of syringe procurement.
Meron tayong 44 million na pinoprocure sa UNICEF. In fact, yung natin doon, yung ating problema, it's not the procurement, but more on the delivery. Considering that sinabi nga natin ng WHO na yung mga syringes natin talaga is talagang globally may acute shortage tayo. Pero yung proseso ng natin, yung tawag nating procurement, I believe nasa nasa UNICEF na yung bola.
This is the second time the Foreign Affairs Secretary alleged that the Health Department dropped the ball in pandemic-related procurements. Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Commission on Higher Education and Department of Health will allow the resumption of the collegiate athletic training, but only for fully vaccinated student athletes. Janice Inhente will tell us why.
A joint memorandum circular was signed by the Commission on Higher Education and the Department of Health today. Based on the approved guidelines, only vaccinated students, coaches, and other personnel will be allowed to participate in contact sports training. Training will be on a bubble setup system where student athletes, coaches, and other personnel will be on campus stay-in, and they will not be allowed to go out of the training facility, common athletes' dormitory, or housing facility during the period of the training season. Before student athletes can enter bubble, they must undergo 14 days quarantine and present negative RT-PCR testing.
Although, under the guidelines that we are now releasing or we are now issuing, pag stay in training ka, then you have to do some quarantine. Pagkatapos mo ng quarantine and it's found out na you have already, kumbaga wala kang symptoms, then you might now proceed with the stay in training. Kung gusto naman ngayon ng isang athletic association or isang higher education institution to do RT-PCR, then medyo malilesen yung period nila for the quarantine. Generally, it's not a requirement to have an RT-PCR, but it will be based on the discretion of the higher education institution.
According to CHED, only public and private universities in areas under Alert Level 1 to 4 will be allowed to conduct contact sport training, while physical training in areas under Alert Level 5 is strictly prohibited.
Generally, the protocols for sports training is the same protocols that we have for the limited face-to-face classes. Observance of minimum health protocols, the retrofitting of the facilities, vaccinated students and faculty, and then ensuring that if somebody gets sick, there are protocols in terms of the committee that will look into it.
Student athletes must present a parent consent, while schools are obliged to get a permit from the local government units.
We've been waiting for this, and kita nyo naman kanina sa mga mukha namin, this is our passion, this is what we love to do, and at least we're a step closer to the resumption of competition, and we are grateful and fortunate that we were given the go signal to resume training.
Bukas na bukas, some schools were issued the certificates of compliance, something that we have been waiting for the longest time. And yun na nga, nakakasana yung mga yan ready na, and we were just happy, very glad, excited na sila lahat to start tomorrow.
CHED and DOH are also studying the guidelines on the resumption of sports competitions in the country by next year. Meanwhile, despite the threat of the Omicron COVID-19 variant, CHED said that face-to-face classes will still continue, even collegiate athletic training.
Speculative pa yan ngayon kasi sabi nga ni Secretary Duque, Yung science part is not yet, complete. It has not been brought to the IATF. So the CHET and the schools, as of now, will not start adjusting the guidelines. Depende do sa science. Wala pang action needed at this time. Speculative pa.
Janice Hente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the Philippines today logged 360 more cases of COVID-19, pushing the nationwide tally of confirmed infections to 2,836,803. The Department of Health, or DOH, said the latest count brought the country's active cases to 11,083. Of these cases, 4,292 are mild, 3,662 are moderate, 1,948 are severe, 782 have no symptoms, and 399 are in critical condition. Meanwhile, total recoveries rose to 2,775,379 after 519 more patients recovered from the disease. COVID-related deaths climbed to 50,341 with 61 new fatalities. All accredited testing laboratories in the country were operational on December 7, but 5 laboratories failed to submit data on time, the DOH noted in its report. Meanwhile, the overall global COVID-19 caseload has reached 270,164,158, while the deaths have surged to 5,306,162, according to the Johns Hopkins University. The United States is the worst-hit country with the world's highest number of cases and deaths at 49,921,405 and 797,346 respectively. In terms of infections, India follows with 34,697,860 cases and 475,636 deaths. In terms of deaths, Brazil comes third with 616,457 fatalities. The National Task Force Against COVID-19 is confident that the country would exceed the initial vaccination target of 7 million Filipinos on the second round of the national vaccination days. JP Nunez explains why.
National Task Force Against COVID-19 explains that the country may reach up to 7 to 9 million doses of total inoculation during the second round of Bayanihan Bakunahan from December 15 to 17. The agency will prioritize those who will receive second dose of vaccines during the 3-day national vaccination days to give more population protection before the holiday season. Vaccination will be simultaneous to minors and those who will receive booster dose.
For this round, ang priority talaga is second doses. No? So second dose ang ating magiging priority. Yung unang round natin, first doses. So ngayon, ang binigay na target ni Secretary Duque ay 7 million for the 3 days. Pero kami ni Secretary tingin namin, kaya yan between 7 to 9 million. No? So, pero yan ang target na binigay ng DOH sa atin and tingin natin kaya nating ma-achieve yan. Hindi lang sa 3 araw, no? Kundi sa buong linggo.
NTF assures enough supply of syringe to be used during the second national vaccination days, while vaccine supplies are more than enough for the event. NTF also said 1.5 million doses of Janssen single-dose vaccine are expected to arrive tonight and will be used for national vaccination days. 52 million doses are yet to arrive this December.
Wala tayong problema sa vaccines. Wala din tayong problema sa ating mga iba't ibang supplies, kamukha ng syringes. Kumpleto na. So okay tayo. Sobra-sobra yung supply natin.
Meanwhile, LGUs in Metro Manila will assist nearby areas to ramp up their vaccination efforts since most of cities in National Capital Region achieve population protection. Marikina City aims to reach at least 30,000 total inoculation on their 4 vaccination sites during national vaccination days. Marikina City Mayor Marcy Teodoro, however, explains most of their expected individuals will come from nearby municipalities in the province of Rizal since they have already reached herd immunity by vaccinating more than 450,000 of their residents.
Maaari nga maging partisipasyon ng Marikina sa susunod na national vaccination rollout sa December 15, 16, 17 ay tutulong ang Marikina para sa pagbabakuna doon sa mga katabing bayan tulad ng Cainta, Antipolo, San Mateo o Montalban, kung saan kakailanganin ng Department of Health at ng National Vaccine Operation Center ang dagdag na manpower.
In Parañaque City, they will make small adjustments on their drive-through vaccination to avoid heavy traffic along Macapagal Avenue near the vaccination site. They will put signages to give direction for those who will receive vaccine shot on their drive-through during National Vaccination Days.
Meron pang konting fine-tune, no? Pinipilit natin mapabilis proseso, lalo na yung aming drive-through, no? Kasi kinakailangan mabilis ang movement para hindi masyadong nagkiklik ng traffic.
They also augmented the effort of their contact tracers to help on data encoding to assure real-time upload of vaccination data to National Vaccine Operations Center to avoid backlogs.
Yes, meron, no? Nag-hire kami. Pati yung ibang contact tracer nga namin, nagamit na namin para mas mapabilis yung data natin, ma-submit sa national kung gaano na karami talaga yung real-time na nabakunahan natin.
JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
For the news abroad, the Australian state of New South Wales has confirmed 10 new cases of the Omicron variant, one of these being the first admission to hospital since the new variant was discovered in November. Maeve and Dog will give us the details live. Good evening, Maeve.
Good evening, Elsie. A surge in new cases were found to be linked to infections at pubs and nightclubs, bringing a total of 536 new cases in the state and 64 cases of the new Omicron variant. Dr. Carrie Chant of New South Wales Health said these numbers are expected to jump as more tests are performed.
In relation to the Omicron, there were 64 cases of COVID with the Omicron variant detected in New South Wales. 17 of these cases were acquired overseas or on an international flight, and there were 47 cases were locally acquired. However, we do know that there are a number of tests that are pending for the genomic sequencing, and we are expecting those numbers to actually jump quite significantly as those tests are performed. And we have seen a number of local hospitality venues in particular that have been linked to Omicron clusters.
According to authorities, one of the 4 positive cases that visited the Argyle House nightclub in Newcastle last week is most likely infected with the Omicron variant. And for some of our fellow Filipinos in the state, the emergence of the Omicron variant may once again affect their work condition and the chance of traveling back to the Philippines to see their families.
For me, the increase in the Omicron cases in New South Wales is very alarming, primarily because it might affect the current situation that we are in. Borders may just suddenly close or lockdowns may be imposed again. Because for my work, we are already trying to slowly come back and work in the work club for important meetings, so that will also be affected. And most of all is the travel ban, because I was hoping that that New South Wales or Australia in general will be listed in the green lane so that I can see my family back in the Philippines.
Meanwhile, Federal Health Minister Greg Hunt said that he is confident in the state's world-class infection control and their ability to contain the virus. New South Wales' latest vaccination rate for the 12 to 15 age group and are fully vaccinated is at 77.7%, while people aged 16 and over is currently sitting at 93.1%. Elsie?
Maeve, will the Omicron variant affect Australia's border reopening plan?
Elsie, as of the moment, there has been no announcement from the federal government if there will be another deferral of Australia's planned border reopening on Wednesday, which is on December 15. The federal government has already moved it from December 1 to December 15, but as of now, it is all systems go and border to reopen to eligible travelers in 2 days. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Mavian Dog, reporting live from Australia. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the chief medical for the U.S., claims that free COVID-19 vaccines is the optimal care. Marvi Delphine will tell us the details live. Yes, Marvi?
Chelsea, health experts have seen that the immune protection provided by 1 or 2 doses of the vaccines are easily evaded by the Omicron variant, making it more transmissible between individuals. Laboratory reports suggest that a third booster shot provides optimal care. Dr. Fauci, the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, or NIH, suggests that the COVID Pfizer booster increases level of protection against the Omicron variant, providing 25-fold increase in antibodies. As the Omicron variant spreads, the official U.S. government's term for fully vaccinated remains defined by 2 doses of Pfizer or Moderna vaccines, or single-dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine. However, with the concerns about the Omicron variant, Dr. Anthony Fauci believes ideally it should be accompanied by a booster shot. More time is needed for studies to decide whether or not an annual booster is required to provide long-term protection against the virus, according to Dr. Fauci. The NIH is currently working with pharmaceutical companies and is preparing a variant-specific booster shot. Elsie?
Marvi, is there any guidance as to when a booster shot will really be confirmed as necessary?
Well, Elsie, Dr. Fauci did mention that it will still take months to establish if an annual booster shot will be needed. He is hopeful, however, that it will only take 1 booster shot to provide the required protection. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Marvi Delphine, live from Australia. Devastating tornadoes struck across parts of the central and southern United States. More than 80 were feared dead, but an official said that the estimated fatality could be wrong. Joselito Liquido will tell us why live. Joselito, go ahead.
LC, dozens of people in several Kentucky counties are still believed to have died in the deadly tornadoes over the weekend, as rescue operations are still ongoing, but Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear said death toll might be as low as 50. The governor's new death toll estimate follows the report of the spokesperson for Mayfield Candle Factory, Bob Ferguson, when he confirmed 8 factory workers have died and 8 remains unaccounted for. More than 30 tornadoes were unleashed due to the storms on Friday night, affecting at least 6 states. Officials reported 2 deaths in Arkansas, 4 in Tennessee, 6 in Illinois, and 2 in Missouri. Kentucky was the most devastated as it was in the direct line of the tornado, leaving thousands of homes without power.
This is Kentucky's most devastating tornado event in our history. We have lost far too many of our brothers and sisters. The damage is devastating. Entire blocks, more than 1 block, with nothing standing. Nothing that was standing in the direct line of this tornado is still standing. We currently have 18 counties with damage. As of this morning, we had between 36 and 50,000 Kentuckians without power, but I will say that that is improving. We are grateful to our first responders who were there all through the evening, out in the storm itself, showing incredible heroism, and they are still at work.
Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden declared a major federal disaster in Kentucky, which paves the way to additional aid as thousands face housing, food, power, and water shortages. President Biden said he plans to travel to the region to survey the damage without getting in the way of the rescue and recovery operations. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Joselito Liquido, for that live report. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Twitter account has been hacked for the second time. A tweet from his main account said the Indian government had officially bought 500 Bitcoin and was distributing them to all residents of the country. The tweet was swiftly deleted, and his office said the account had been very briefly compromised. The matter was escalated to Twitter, and the Prime Minister's personal Twitter handle was immediately secured, Mr. Modi's office wrote in a tweet late on Saturday. Mr. Modi is a prolific tweeter and has more than 73 million followers, the most of any world leader. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Elsie Marcos, live from Auckland, New Zealand. Good evening.
Philippine vet Beatriz Luigi Gomez concludes Miss Universe 2021 at top 5. Meanwhile, Miss India Harnaaz Sandhu has been crowned Miss Universe 2021. Ann Gonzalez has this story.
Philippines! Cebuana beauty queen Beatriz Luigi Gomez made the whole Philippines proud with top 5 finish at Miss Universe 2021. For 12 years, the Philippines has been part of the semi-final round of the prestigious pageant. Former beauty queens congratulated Bea. In a tweet, Miss Universe 2015 Pia Wurzbach shared that Filipinos should be proud of Gomez for entering the top 5 since the last time this happened was in 2018. Miss Universe 2018 Catriona Gray also lauded Gomez for reaching the pageant's top 5. Malacanang also commends Miss Philippines Beatriz. Acting presidential spokesperson and cabinet secretary Carlo Nograles thanked her for bringing joy to our people and honor to our country. She's also an inspiring figure whose participation in Miss Universe allowed the world to see what we in the country witness every day: strength, grace, and beauty of the Filipino women. During her Miss Universe campaign, Beatriz introduced herself as a member of the Philippine Navy Reserve Force, a community development worker, youth advocate, and a proud member of the LGBTQ. And the new Miss Universe is India! Meanwhile, Miss India Harnaaz Sandhu was crowned as this year's Miss Universe, besting 79 other contestants. Miss Paraguay Nadia Ferreira is first runner-up, and Miss South Africa Lalela Miswain is second runner-up. Ann Gonzalez, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And to showcase that their beauty is also reflected in their words and ideas, the Miss Universe 2021 Top 5 answered some of the issues faced by the world today. Judges asked Miss Universe 2021 winner Harnaaz Sandhu how to convince people who are skeptical about climate change. She said actions are more important in order to save nature, and that she will convince the people by saying protecting the environment is better than repairing it. For Miss Philippines Beatriz Luigi Gomez, she was asked about her opinion of mandating a universal vaccine passport. Gomez voiced out her support for mandating vaccine inoculation and the need for vaccine passports. She said these would help in mitigating the situation of the pandemic today. The Philippines ended her Miss Universe 2021 journey in top 5, while India is reigned as Miss Universe 2021.
And before we close, we will leave you with the word giving glory to God from the book of Romans 12:18. It says, "If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men." Those are the reasons behind the news. December 13, 2021. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Yun po munang safety at tinitingnan ng ating po mga eksperto dyan bago natin payagan. So far, yung clinical trial data, wala naman pong nakikita na very unusual or tinatawag nating signals of very severe na mga adverse events.
Wala tayong problema sa vaccines. Wala din tayong problema sa ating mga iba't ibang supplies, kamukha ng syringes. Kumpleto na. So okay tayo. Sobra-sobra yung supply natin.
The tweet that the ball was dropped again by the Philippines is absolutely false and without basis. Okay? Because what is this gentleman talking about?